We'll bring this meeting of the New Gloucester City Council to order.
Present.
Yes.
Councilman Bond.
Here.
Councilman Shammy.
Here.
Councilwoman Wright.
Yes.
Councilman Lindsay.
Yes.
And Vice Mayor Eggleston.
Yes.
And with that, we'll have the invocation by Chief Trustee.
Oh Lord, we thank you for the day, and we thank you for thy many blessings and many favors. We pray that you please be at this meeting that thy perfect will and will the troops, our first responders, and their families.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. With that, I'll need a motion for the minutes of March the 3rd.
So moved.
Councilwoman Wright.
Yes.
Councilman Lindsay.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Eggleston. Mayor Cook.
Yes.
Councilwoman Grove.
Yes.
Councilman Bond.
Yes.
And Councilman Shammy.
Yes.
Accepted 7-0.
With that, under communications, I have the gentleman from the Second Harvest Food Bank. If you'll come up to the podium and you can entertain our thoughts and your thoughts.
Okay. My name's Andy Irick. I'm the Executive Director of Second Harvest Food Bank, Clark County. Actually, it's Clark, Champaign, and Logan counties. Mayor Cook and I had a discussion a couple of weeks ago, and he said that the food bank's discontinuance of our mobile pantry at the community gardens was discussed here, and that there were a lot of questions, but not necessarily a lot of answers. So I'm here to hopefully answer questions that you have about that. We took that action as part of an overall plan to reduce our direct service and put more focus on our 60 partner agencies and helping them to feed neighbors in the communities. That's the way most food banks operate. We had a situation here starting back when COVID occurred, where we were actually serving more neighbors than all of our 60 partner agencies. So we were distributing about 70% of the food distributed in the 3-county area, while our partner agencies were distributing about 30%. That's because they couldn't find the volunteers. And in 2020, the food bank actually had National Guardsmen come in and help us distribute food, and we would have alley service, and cars would pull up, and we might throw a whole bag of onions in the back of a truck. It wasn't really well thought out, but we were just getting food out as fast as possible to neighbors who needed it. Today, we're a little bit more careful about that. We try to supplement neighbors who are food insecure. We try to supplement their grocery, their refrigerator with food that's healthy. We do get some donated food that's not, but we find a place to distribute that. It's not our ideal. We would rather have, healthy, nutritious produce, assorted meats, vegetables, a lot of shelf-stable items like canned items, box, pasta, that kind of stuff, rice. So that's our goal. And with our model, we are just turned the corner December of last year, where the food pantries and feeders, that'd be any soup kitchens, any kind of kitchen that provides food, they actually served more than we did for the year last year, but just barely. We try to support our food pantries and our kitchens by providing them with food that we have contracts with the government to get. We also have donors, many manufacturers like Dole, Gordon Food Service, Bob Evans, and then also retailers like Kroger, Meijer, Aldi. They donate to us, and then so that's where we get our food. There's also some state contracts, so there are federal and state contracts. So closing or discontinuing the Gardens food mobile pantry was part of that effort. I did look at some numbers. Mayor Cook and I were talking about this. We serve, on average, about 50 people at community gardens in the pantry. There's a, you may know Bethel Church's food pantry on Pike Street. They're serving about anywhere between 420 and 800 people per month in their 2 services each week. Now, there is one concern that could come up. Of those 50 people, 50 to 60 people that we were serving at the mobile, it could be they go to the mobile because they can drive through. They can't drive through at Bethel Church. And I just want you to know that we do have some people who say, well, I can't really stand that long. We typically suggest if they don't have an alternative, that maybe they can find somebody we can accept. We and our pantries can allow a proxy to come pick up for them. They just have to make that arrangement ahead of time. So there is that alternative for them. I don't really have a lot of information, a lot of additional information to share, but I'm open to any questions that anybody has. Happy to answer those.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Yes.
I will. You said that our pantry here on Pike served how many people?
Well, it's typically between 400 and 500. But
See, I disagree kind of with those numbers. I'm not sure where those are. When you go on, what is it, Wednesday and Friday they're open, correct?
Mhm.
And they're open for 2 hours on Wednesday, and there's about 45 cars that go through there.
Yeah.
And yeah, there might be a few kids, but basically that. And then on Friday, there's even less. So it's more like 25 on Friday, and that, to me, doesn't add up very well.
So that's a monthly number.
Right,
And they
so-
serve twice a week, all 4 weeks, every week of the month, yeah.
Okay.
Now, the 800 was an outlier. That was a big number for that one day. And I can tell you where we get the number. We have a program we use called Pantry Track. Just like us, the pantries actually put those numbers into Pantry Track, and then we get that data. So like I said, 800 was a high.
Very
It's-
high.
Yeah, it's
that-
typically 400 to 500.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's more
Yeah.
like 400 or 500.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So, oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Go ahead, Kevin.
So, could we convince you somehow to come back to New Carlisle?
Well, I will tell you, so we serve the pantry, provide them with food. I will tell you that by January of '26, we will have, we've got a new process that we will be using to determine where how we're satisfying the need in different areas. So I'll say that it could show us that there is more need than what we are seeing today. The other thing I'll share with you is that we are always open to talk through that. We have talked about having like pop-up distributions where we would go to a community to make the distributions, but not necessarily on a regular schedule. So I guess I can say maybe. Maybe we can be convinced, and we'll take a look at those numbers. Part of this is, when we look at our service area, it's all 3 counties. And we serve more than 50% of all of the food we provide in Clark County. If you look at the 3 counties, Clark County is about 50% of that total population. And we serve quite a bit more than 50% of all the food we serve in Clark County. So that's part of that too. And we looked at that mobile, thought the number was somewhat low, that it could probably be absorbed by Bethel churches, but we're always open to talk, always. And
I think it's the process of Bethel churches. It's not fast. You pull in, they bring you out a sheet, you fill out that sheet, you're sitting waiting. It takes like 15 minutes for each car to go through there, which there's nothing wrong with that, and I love that people have a choice. I think that's excellent. But the hours are short. With 2 hours, just doesn't math,
Sure.
And I think that if you could provide more food to Bethel, and they could, I'm not saying not to Bethel, but to the pantry, the church pantry, then maybe increased hours, then we might come out just as well, if not better, than we were before. But you're very limited in your times. The one lady that I know that tried to use their pantry, she was working during those times, and many of our people who need food are working. So,
Okay.
I don't know, I think that's a consideration.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You got some.
You talked about serving 50% of the food in Clark County. Tell me why, how did the decision come about to stop the mobile truck from coming out here outside of, you only have 50? And I went up there one time just to watch, to see how many people was there, and there was a lot more than 50 people that went through that line.
Yeah, it was 50 on average when I looked at it. I think we had a high of 74 when I looked at that period. The period I looked at was December 23 through actually January of 25. And during that period, there was a high of 74, but typically it was between 50 and 60. One of the reasons we came to that decision was, again, an equity issue among the three counties. So about 50% of the population for the three counties belongs to Clark County. The other 50% belongs to a combination of Champaign and Logan. But we serve quite a bit more than 50% of the food we serve. That model is a little limited compared to what we'll be doing before January of next year. We'll be looking at where we have gaps specifically in terms of service. And that'll be hopefully based on census tract. So it'll help us be more certain of where we're meeting the need and where we're not. I got to tell you, we're not probably meeting the need anywhere because the number of people who are food insecure keeps growing. And I can tell you that right now we're looking at less and less food all the time. We have some government food that comes in to us. There was a program, the $1 billion cut to federal spending that was aimed at schools and food banks. That hit a program called LFPA. Local farmers, it subsidizes local farmers. We get food from them, and that program's been cut. It'll end in July, actually June of this year. That is going to reduce our food by about, I think the contract is for $450,000 a year in terms of the food that we get in Clark County alone, Clark, Champaign, and Logan counties alone.
Is that pounds or items?
It's dollars,
Dollars? Okay.
but I can't equate that to pounds for you right now, except to maybe say, it's probably about a couple 100,000 pounds of food. Based on we have a pricing model. It's $1.93 a pound for the food that we have. That's how we inventory that. So that'll impact us some. We hope that donations stay steady, and we hope that our other sources of food, we get food from USDA or TFAP. We get food from OFP, which is Ohio Food Producers. So we hope those remain steady and that maybe we can even increase donations. But when we looked at mobiles that we were doing, that's a direct service from us, and we felt that we had more direct service in Clark County than we had in Champaign and Logan based on the need in those three counties. So that's why we made the decision.
What does the citizens have to do to qualify for food from the food pantries, any of them?
They self-declare that they meet, there's actually, when we do the pantry track that I mentioned, it's on a tablet, and they attest that they meet the income guidelines, which are on for food insecurity, which are on the tablet. So they are attesting that they meet that income guideline that qualifies them for free food.
So what's the income?
It's based on the poverty.
For one person in the city of New Carlisle, what's the income they have to qualify?
It's based on the It's based on the poverty guidelines, and it's like 180% of the poverty guidelines. I cannot remember what that percentage is.
So one person would probably be about 12,000.
Actually,
Or is it higher?
I think it's more than that. I think it's more like 18 or 20. I think. That's a guess. I'm not positive of that.
And even at 18 or 20,000, with the cost of rent, utilities, just normal monthly expenses, if you have a place to live,
Right.
20,000 would really be a tight budget for them.
There's no doubt.
So, I mean, after they pay, I mean, most rents are between, I'm gonna say here in the city is probably between 600 to a grand, maybe 1,200. Oh, really?
Higher.
Really?
Yeah, we're averaging almost 1,000 a month
Oh,
to live
wow.
around here.
And I'd be happy to get back with you on that.
Wow.
I can reply
I
to
do think
that.
it's probably more expensive to live in New Carlisle and more limiting, of course, in our shopping. We have, various,
Yeah. So if you're
Needs in
making,
that
if you're
area.
making 20,000 and sake of argument, your rent's $1,000 a month, that's 12,000, that leaves you what? $8,000 a year to pay gas, electric, water, sewer, and I know the sewer and water
Yeah.
is expensive in this town,
Yeah.
because we voted to raise it. But, so I don't see how 30,000 would probably be not even enough to maintain everything you have to maintain in a household or an apartment and still, have money to go to the grocery store. I mean, you go to the grocery store, I went the other day, spent $100 carrying that one bag, and now I didn't buy a steak.
Yeah. I should probably say that those are not our guidelines. That's the federal government's
Right.
guidelines. So it's based on their income guidelines and what the poverty level is for that. And it's some higher percentage than the poverty level. But I will get that for you and make sure.
I'd be interested to know what it takes to qualify for the citizens and here in town and the township to qualify for the food bank.
Okay?
And I know the more people, the higher it is, but, the more people, the more it costs, to maintain.
Sure. Yeah, I'll be happy to get that for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. Mr. Chairman,
We're good.
Mr. Bond.
He answered all my questions. I guess I understand, trying to keep it equal, so, because you can't obviously meet everything, so you're having to divvy it up and
Yeah.
figure it out. so.
But like I said, our new process that we'll be going through this year, culminating in January of '26, should be a better process for identifying where there may be gaps that we're not aware of today. So,
Gary Ann?
No, that was solid information.
I did a little research, and it looks like our poverty rate in New Carlisle was 20.5, which is higher than the national average of 12.5. And it gives me a breakdown of by age, male, female, and children, which is immaterial at this point. I guess I'm concerned, I would assume that the Park Lane Bank, food pantry, I'm sorry, is probably a much more attended than what ours is here in fact. I think like Kathy has pointed out, if we do a trade-off for the truck and possibly increase hours down there, again, that's going to depend upon volunteer help as well as anything. I think at that point, that might help out the situation that we've incurred. I still, I was up there several times
and stood back and watched what was going on. And I think that a lot of times that line seemed to grow quite a bit, coming from both ends of the spectrum out there. But, you know, if you folks are kind of hamstrung by federal guidelines, knowing full well there's not a whole lot we're going to be able to do with that. But if we can work towards a mutual agreement, that is, to me, a possibility. Yes, I'd like to see the truck back, but if we got to work with this food pantry and possibly either add another day or longer hours. Again, I don't have anything else other than that, but go ahead, Bill.
Do you have control over this food pantry here in town, or is it separate?
No, well, we do kind of. They signed a partner agency agreement with us. So that requires them to do certain things.
Okay.
It requires them to keep the food at a certain temperature. We come in and audit and make sure that the refrigerator or freezer is at the right temperature. They have to get food safe certified, which is something that any restaurant or, you know, any place handling food has to do. There are some guidelines that they have to follow. Actually, there are rules from Feeding America, our national affiliate. Things like they can't require anybody to work for food or volunteer in order to get the food. They can't require that they attend a religious service. There are just some basic things. And most of that, these are questions that the federal government says, hey, if we're going to provide food from the USDA or TFAP, you have to follow these equal rights rules. And then the other is the food safe that we impose on them. They are not bound by any rules we have as far as when they serve. So that is their choice. They do what they think is best in their community. We do have a pretty good relationship with our 60 partner agencies. We stay in touch with them. And our biggest concern with our partner agencies is that we provide them with enough food that they can do the service. You know, like I said before, the pandemic, a lot of people couldn't find volunteers to help serve food, and that's why we wound up serving a lot more than what a typical food bank would serve.
Hey, I did a quick Google search for the poverty guidelines. The first one that popped up was from 2022, and the minimum amount, annual income was $27,750 for individual and/or families. So and then I found 25, but it didn't give me the dollar amount. It gave me a percentage of the dollar amount, but I couldn't locate the dollar amount very quickly, and it was really small print.
Yeah.
So it may be at 30,000 now. I don't know, so I couldn't locate it.
Yeah, I probably quoted it, that was probably from memory.
Yeah.
I was a banker for a lot of years, and we made some loans based on somebody's, you know, where they were, poverty rate. So, yeah, it could well be 30,000.
So the percentages I found, say if 27,750 was the actual number we'd be working with, and the percentages I found, is that like 50% of this number or 100% of this number, or?
My recollection is that it's typically like 120 to 180% of that.
One of the guidelines, the 25 I found, it came up, it started at 25%. The last one I seen was 185%.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't know what number I would be working with.
So programs I'm familiar with are aimed at either somebody who's at 120 or 180% poverty. That's and that's just recollection. But you get absolutely.
That would be helpful.
I just need to do a little research.
Occasionally I run across people here in town and they ask those questions and I don't have an answer.
Yeah.
And I refer them to the food bank for that information.
And I would say, like, just like we're talking now, if you have somebody who says, oh, go to that food pantry, that mobile pantry, and they don't have it anymore, give them my name and number, I'll be happy to talk to them. I will be happy to do that.
We
And
got to get them food.
we can get them food, but, you know, it also might help us gauge. If we erred, then we're coming back.
I think with that mobile food pantry gone out of this city, I think there's a lot of people that, I know there's a lot of people that walked through there and picked up food for whatever reason, whether they lived close or they didn't have transportation. So that's another factor that, you know, I don't know if you've looked at or was aware of, is why people would go to the garden, to the food pantry, and pick up what they need and then walk home.
I do know that when we had where we had mobile pantries that we were going to discontinue, we handed out notices ahead of time to people who came through for food. And I am not aware of anybody who said, hey, this is really going to cause me a problem. But maybe I wasn't told, so I'll ask that question.
Well, and also, most people, in my experience, that if you tell them we're going to stop something, they go, oh, they're going to stop it, there's nothing I can do, and they won't say nothing, period.
True.
Because the decision's already been made. It's like, you know, if I'm not even going to say it because we're on video, if council decided to stop a program in the city, whether it be police, fire, finance, whatever, we have the authority to do that, but how many people out there is going to be chewing us up and telling us to go garbage disposal, you know, if we did that? And I don't believe anybody on this council would vote to get rid of any of those services. But I, for one, would like to see the truck come back in any possible way of doing that. I think it served a purpose, it served the community here in New Carlisle. And you could drive through it and get what you wanted, or walk through it, whichever one you wanted to do. Now, I don't know if the guidelines was the same as the food pantry up there, or if you had to sign something when you went through. I don't know that.
Official at that point to get, and I believe it's Julie Fisher down there. I have tried on several occasions I've left a voicemail, I've emailed her, everything else. She has not responded. I would like to sit down with her to see what that we could work out between your group, her group, and council in order to keep our citizens supplied.
Okay. So we have a member agency, that's his position at the food bank. He makes sure that the member agencies have what they need, that we have what we need from them. And I talked to him today, and I asked him if Julie was aware and if she had any feedback when we decided to close the pantry, and he said no. But that doesn't mean, like you just said, that doesn't mean she didn't think something, right? So I'll reach out. I'll be happy to reach out to her if you would like.
All right. And if she can get with me, I've left my number, and I'm on the city website, and I can give you a card which has got cell number and home number on it.
Okay.
Go ahead, Kathy.
One more thing, if they're not capable, and I know they do have some trouble getting volunteers, can we start another pantry that runs different hours? And because those daytime hours just really aren't very helpful for many people.
Yeah, we would love to grow our network of pantries that we can supply food to.
And then how is there a way to go about that?
I could just talk to our member
Just
engagement
talk.
specialist. His
And
name's
if-
Austin Wilson.
Austin.
But I'm going to leave a stack of my cards, and I encourage, I'm serious about if you talk to somebody and they want to talk to me, I'm more than happy to speak with them. You can call me. My number at the food pantry is here. Feel free to give me a call. Leave me a message. If you don't get a hold of me, I've got my extension here, and I'll call you back, and we can, and I will call Julie. I'll talk to her. But yeah, I'm not ruling out. Look, we're making decisions, we're just people, right? So we make
Yeah.
decisions based on what we think we know. So,
I think personally, if we get a dialogue going and we can show the need that's out there, like Kathy has said, possibly longer hours, maybe we can eliminate the food truck.
yeah,
If not, personally, and I'm sure that during the summer months, the people going to the food truck are considerably greater than those going in the wintertime. Even if we could do it, let's say 8 or 9 months out of the year, to me, that's making an inroads on what we want to do.
sure, I understand.
Anything further?
Thanks for coming. Oh,
I
wait,
think if we could get a food truck just for 6 months, from spring to fall, I think that would make a tremendous impact.
Well, I do know
The
that,
cold weather, people don't want to stand in line or anything in cold weather.
I do know that John in the past, up at the garden, has given to the food pantry. I think Scully also donated to the food pantry from the Park Lane Garden Center. And I'm not sure where that's going to go this year. With that. Have you got something, Carrie Ann?
Yes. I have connected with I don't know if she's the advisor or what, she's part of food insecurity for Clark County through Ohio State Extension Office. Do you have anything to do with them?
We don't have a formal arrangement with them that I know of.
Okay,
We have a number of gardens that donate to us. I don't know if OSU Extension Office may be involved in that somehow.
okay. They are somewhat, I met her through the guy that does the Springfield Community Garden, but I can't remember.
Terry Jacobson,
Terry Jacobson, yeah.
I think that's his last name. It's Terry, I know that.
It's Terry.
And
yeah.
what's her name?
I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
I was trying to find her number in my phone because I have it, but I can't remember her name. But I can
But-
find out. I don't know if I could, she offered to come at some point if we needed help with food security, because I told her the poverty rate for New Carlisle was 21.3. So maybe I could get her to come in and maybe we can work with the food insecurity advisor for Clark County with you.
Yeah, seems like I should know that name.
I have her phone number, but I have to remember her name to find it in my phone.
Oh,
can't
that reminds me,
remember.
my email address should also be, yeah, my email address is also,
Okay.
so email might be a good option
Okay.
too. Yeah, I might ask that question, see if I can find out the name. from
Okay.
the Folks at the food bank.
Yeah.
Anything further, guys? If not, I greatly appreciate your making the trip out here and educating us a little bit. And maybe between the three of us, council, yourself, the food pantry, we can work something out and get this going. We will be in touch, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we will go to Mrs. Harris for the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor and council and members of our citizens and
Public.
public. Thank you.
Member?
So just a quick shout out. Obviously, I'm not your city manager, and I wanted to thank Howie for his leadership and hard work these last 5 months, doing both jobs, both 40-hour-a-week jobs. He really is incredible with his work ethics and guidance. And with that, we're wishing him a happy birthday, and that's why he's not here today. So hopefully he's
Told me he
enjoying
was
his
doing
birthday.
just fine. He would love to stay on.
Did he?
He does a good
Not
job.
exactly.
He got his birthday off?
Yeah,
This is
no.
how rumors
Weak.
start.
Week.
So I'm going to read
told
his
me.
city manager report. And it starts with the service director report. So under the public works, if you see any potholes, please contact the city for repairs. Our number, again, is 937-845-9492. Preparing for the spring Dura patching of potholes, followed up by a citywide sweep of our streets. Under the water department, he's still working with OPWC on the old high service pump building upgrade project. He's seeking approval for the scope of work. And the water main lead service line replacement project in the old section of town, the project is moving at a rapid pace and will finish in the next few upcoming months. The sewer department, they are performing general maintenance. The plant expansion study, the study is complete, and the plan is reviewed by the city manager and the wastewater superintendent. Approaching the engineering with some additional information to update the plan further. Under road construction or resurfacing projects for 2025, the Clark County Road resurfacing is working with the county on estimates. Streets in consideration are Henry Street and Orth, along with some additional ADA ramps. Peace sidewalk is still scheduled to be completed. The disc golf course preliminary design is complete. They're working on getting their estimates from the contractors to clear the land for the course. And when the estimates come in, it could delay the start of the project, depending upon the estimates. Additional items, the city was awarded a CDBG allocation funds for Carlisle Park Phase 2 upgrade. Additional ADA sidewalk replacement, install the driveway, parking area and security, and an additional inclusive park piece. Engineering design starts in a couple of weeks. Rebuilding of the veteran sign on Main Street. That is his service department updates. Next, we have the fire and EMS report with our chief trustee.
Mayor, council, citizen. For the month of February, the New Carlisle Fire Division responded to 121 EMS calls in the city. The division responded to five fire-related calls, 7 good and 10 are service calls, 8 false alarms, and 7 canceled en route. We had 5 EMS calls answered by Pike Township and 10 calls answered by Bethel Clark, and 2 by Elizabeth Township due to Medic 52 being on a response. We answered 1 mutual aid call to Pike Township. We answered 13 mutual aid calls to Bethel Clark and 4 mutual aid calls to Bethel, Miami. At the time of the report, our run count was 313. As of today, we're at 382 runs. Again, as always, we have our free smoke detector program going on. Right now, the department's kind of recovering a little bit from the past weekend. Friday's fire was pretty substantial for the division. We were on scene for 12 hours. We were the first company on scene. We were the first ones through the door. It was a pretty rough day for everybody. We had one firefighter fall through a floor, was injured. Another one dislocated his shoulder working with a pike pole. Myself and the initial entry crew was pushed back out of the fire due to intense heat. Our air packs are set up where they have a thermal alarm on them. And when that alarm goes off, we're in too deep and too hot. Both of our thermal alarms went off, and my arms were already burning through my bunker coat. And so I made a decision to get the crews out, and we backed out. When I came out, my helmet was melted, bent, my bill was bent down. And so it was a pretty rough day. But we stuck it out and did what we had to do.
Go ahead, Bill.
Chief, that was a hard fire. It was a hot fire if your helmet melted and you was feeling it through the bunker gear, especially what we have nowadays.
Yes, sir.
The firefighter the 2 that was injured, was they ours or what department?
The one that fell through the floor was a Heber Heights firefighter. They were trying we had avalanche back out back of the house. They were making one initial entry through the front door and going up the staircase to the second floor, and the staircase landing gave way underneath them. He had a minor cherry burn on his neck, but the way we are set up nowadays, as soon as he went down, firefighter mayday was called, and every firefighter on the scene goes to that point. And we brought a ladder in quickly and got him out of the basement. He was sent to the hospital for observation and returned to duty that night. The other firefighter was from Wright Pat. He was working with a pike pole and dislocated his shoulder. So,
I'm sorry to hear about the firefighters being injured in a fire. It's always stressful for the entire department and families when that happens. So thank you for your service, sir.
I had just a question. Because there was a death, do our firefighters have any support, or is it just
yes,
each
ma'am.
other?
We have what's called a CISM, we have CISM teams.
Okay, that's good to know.
Critical stress debriefing teams.
Okay.
If we feel like, or they feel like they're needed, we definitely call them in. We've already used them once this year.
Okay,
We had a 4-year-old child death, and we immediately called in debriefing team that night for our crews. It's no longer the old adage of when I first started in the fire service, and I'm sure Mr. Lindsay and Mr. Cook can attest, it was suck it up and deal with it, go on. It's no longer that way. Our firefighters' mental health is just as important as their physical health.
exactly, yeah. That's why I was concerned. I was hoping there was something. I'm glad we have that in
Yes, ma'am.
place. That's good. And I'm sorry for all your guys, because that is a rough thing to go through, especially if you pulled them back and they were wanting to go and help. So, yeah, and I understand.
But it's one of those things when I was inside is, my crew comes first.
That's right.
And-
Always, yeah, they have to.
That's the mark of a good chief.
Anybody wants to see what that tiny temperature can do, I've got my helmet in my Jeep if you want to see what it looks like.
Wow. You should have brought it in for us.
I've seen it before.
Yeah, I'm sure you have.
But
Anyone else? Okay. Yes, Sarah.
Thank you, Dr. Cusby. And I know being here on Friday when you were first on the scene and taking that leadership, you're amazing. You kept a lot of people safe, I know. The whole town was just, all the trucks were coming in and using hydrants and, filling their tankers to go out and fight. There was so many different,
estimated we used right at 100,000 gallons of water.
from how many departments too you had?
Bethel Clark, us, Mad River, Huber Heights, Wright Pat, Mad River, and Tip City. A lot of those crews were tanker operators, using tankers.
Thank you for your report. Thank you for your service. Next on the city manager's report, the planning department and the mayor's court is attached. The next report is from our sheriff's department, and I'll read that. For the month of February, they had 194 calls taken, 60 reports, 35 assists, 12 criminal arrests, 7 misdemeanor arrests, 2 warrants, 76 traffic stops, 54 traffic warnings, 22 moving citations, 890 business checks, 10 code enforcement follow-ups, 4 traffic crashes, and no parking citations. That is the police report. All right. Oh, next is the good one. Yeah. All right, the finance report. For the month of February, we took in $801,595.68. Our expenditures for the month of February were $602,377.90. So a total revenue for January and February combined is $2,234,315.18. And the expenditures are $2,022,677. Our beginning statement of cash balance in January was $9,257,433.10. Our ending balance at the end of February is $8,100,719.87. Checkbooks are all balanced for the month of February. From the income tax collection, we took in, our CCA took in for us, $209,852.97. We are about just a little under 7% higher than this time last year. The income tax administrator, Colleen Ray, she wanted to do a quick little reminder that anyone that needs assistance with their city income tax can drop off their W-2s or 1099s at the city. We're open from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. We're closed for lunch from 12 to 1. And she will prepare those and then call you back to pick them up and then go over them with you. So they can stop by and make an appointment, or they can actually, we have a lot of people that are dropping them off. She gives her time to do them, and then she calls and goes over. And that is free, and we have been doing a lot of them. So she has a deadline of Tuesday, April 8th. That's the last day that she can help any of the residents, and that gives time to put those returns in the mail. They still get mailed to CCA, and that's the responsibility of the resident.
Go ahead, Bill.
Does she also pay the tax that is due, or does she get the refund?
I don't know. You want me to ask her tomorrow?
Yeah, if she's gonna pay the tax, I need to get mine back and let her, you know.
We'll tell her thank you for doing what she does.
Yeah, she enjoys helping, and she was trained by Vicki Taylor, who was such a
There you
good,
go.
personable tax administrator for a long time. So she got some good training, and she loves her job. She's doing it very, very well.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
I move to accept the court report.
Second.
Councilwoman Wright,
Yes.
Councilman Lindsay,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Eggleston,
Yes.
Mayor Cook,
Yes.
Councilwoman Grove,
Yep.
Councilman Bond,
Yes.
and Councilman Shan.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Move to accept the finance report.
Second.
Councilwoman Wright,
Yes.
Councilman Lindsay.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Eggleston,
Yes.
Mayor Cook,
Yes.
Councilwoman Grove,
Yes.
Councilman Bond,
Yes.
and Councilman Shan.
Yes.
Thank you. Next on the city manager report are the informational items. The discussion topics, there are no updates on the bond and ballot information for the city council, but we do have our attorney for an update on the police levy.
Thank you. So, yeah, the Supreme Court sided with the city. It will be on the May 6th ballot. So,
Yay!
That makes me so happy.
Yeah.
Thank you for your work, Jake.
Glad I could help. Wish it was a little bit easier than that, but oh well.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
what was the vote count on the Supreme Court for this initiative?
It is unanimous.
Pardon me, sir?
Unanimous.
Awesome.
Very nice.
Thank you. And that set precedent throughout the state of Ohio on how things will be handled now?
Yeah, the language for that statute's been in place for 67 years, and this has never come up before. So if you look up the statute, there's one case note, and that's our case. I just pulled it up right now. And, yeah, I mean, it's been shared with other cities, and a lot of other cities did it the same way that we did it. I mean, that's what the statute says, that's what we followed. So, I think we had a lot of support, or at least a lot of interest in this case. So, I'm glad
Good
it
to
worked
know.
out the way it did.
Thank you, sir.
Go ahead, Chris.
Did they say why they kicked it? Did we find out why exactly?
Because we submitted a resolution and a proposed ordinance. The way the statute's written, it asks the voters if the ordinance will be approved. So basically, the voters are the ones that approve it. And the Board of Elections' position was, council needed to pass the ordinance first and then have the voters pass it. That was based on some verbiage from the Secretary of State, which he can provide guidance, but he can't change the law, and that's basically what was going on with that. So, again, it seems like the majority way to do it, the proper way to do it under the statute. So I'm glad the Supreme Court agreed with us.
Thank you.
Mr. Cook?
Go ahead.
If I could ask Colleen one question, and I think I know what it is, but I'm asking anyways, so I'm being that way. These Tri-Village, Fairborn, Xenia, Bethel, Miami East, Piqua, different districts and whatnot, are those where people are getting their salary, like, saved, and then we send that out to them out of their wages? Or are these where people are having their taxes taken out and sent back to us? Clear as mud, right? Sorry.
Yeah, the question's a little hard. So.
Okay.
If it's they should be withholding for anybody
Yeah.
that obviously lives in the city and they work outside.
Right, but there's a lot of them, and it sounds different to me. Of course, there is Riverside City Tax, and there's nothing in the budget for it, and they get $113.84. Is that ringing any bells? I don't know which page this is, because I don't never see page numbers
Are
on here.
you on the checks?
Expense report.
It's
Okay.
on the expense report, right.
It's under, so when we withhold for somebody that
Right.
lives.
That's
yeah,
what I thought.
yeah.
So like child
It's a-
support or something like that? Is that what these are?
And that's we withhold for where they live too.
Where they
City
live.
taxes.
All
And
these
it's just a
people?
pass-through. We collect it from their income, and then we pass it along.
Okay, so if, it says Bethel 2, let's say. Our person that lives in town works in Bethel 2.
Or lives in Bethel, works in town, yes, yes.
Either way, we go both ways, right? If the other city is agreeable with us, they will take out our taxes
Yes, it's a
And-
courtesy, they call it. They
as a
don't have to.
courtesy. So,
Bethel is probably a school district. We have
That's
a lot of-
probably a
That's
school-
what all the other smaller ones are.
oh,
And
okay,
those are
yes, they are
state-
school districts.
And those are state mandated that we have to withhold. So anybody that lives in
Okay.
Bethel and works for the city, we withhold their school tax.
Okay, that makes really good sense now.
And Riverside is more of an income tax.
Okay, all right. Well, so anybody that works in another city can ask them to take out New Carlisle's taxes?
Yes.
And they probably will, maybe will?
Most of the times they will.
Most of the times they will,
don't.
so, okay. All right, well, that's good to know, and I don't know where that is on here, but
Okay.
that's good to know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to move on from the police levy discussion. Ongoing council projects. He has no updates on the comprehensive land use code amendments, rewrite, and the business continuation. Upcoming legislation, we do have the Penny Creek bond agreement, Gastineau field lease, decorative LED streetlight upgrade with ODOT. So that'll be coming up, and he'll have more information on that. And I believe that is the city manager's report.
I have one question. I understand we have not received any recommendations for the Junior Citizen of the Year.
I have not been in that conversation. I do not have that
Okay,
information. Would you like me to pass that question?
Well,
along?
I was with Howie
Okay.
Thursday, and he said we had not received any of those. If that is the case, I would like to see that situation resolved by moving it over to Citizen of the Year. And at that point, I think, do the nominations for those positions or those situations expire today?
And that I wasn't prepped on. I don't have that information.
Okay, I
for you, so.
was under the assumption it did.
He'll be back in the office tomorrow.
That's all right.
Okay.
We can check.
Take some notes for him. Okay.
Does anybody have anything else? All right,
Thank you.
if that's the case, I guess we move on to committee reports, which I don't think we have any of. And if not, we'll go to members of the public. Janelle, it's your turn.
Janelle Zimmerman, 219 Prentice Drive. I had seen on TV today where they were, the other cities were doing their lead pipes under their roads and everything. And I noticed the one said that they were also taking out galvanized pipes if they had ever been connected to a pipe that was lead. Does that have anything to do with ours? I know the pipe that comes into our house is galvanized.
Go ahead, Chief.
The way the federal government looks at it, that if there's a lead pipe connected to it, then it considers it all that lead.
Okay.
So if it's had
Well,
any
well,
type.
they had said if there ever had been one, which I didn't quite understand. I didn't know if maybe there had been lead pipes years ago and they changed it out. But what you had in the house had once been connected to it.
I would imagine this is going to be a Mr. Kitco question.
Okay. I was just kind of confused with that, and I thought, well, gosh, do they need to do that? And if they do, are they? You know, I didn't know. Or should I get my water checked?
I think in your section of town, I don't think they have lead pipes over there. Most of the lead pipes, to my understanding, is over here in the old section of town where they're working. So your galvanized piping would never have been connected.
Would never have
to
been
lead
connected to
pipe
any.
in your neighborhood.
Okay.
In fact, yours is probably, I'm going to stretch it and say, the tile, what's it called? I forget.
Clay tile.
Clay tile.
Oh,
It was
okay,
probably connected to clay tile somehow.
okay.
Because I know at one time they used that for water lines
Years ago.
and sewer lines.
Okay,
So I would say yours would be fine.
probably, yeah. I was just curious.
As far
I'd
as-
never heard of
As far
such a
as that
thing, so,
conversation with the
yeah.
lead goes.
Okay. And I had another question if I can remember it. Oh, the New Carlisle Park that they're working on, I know they're doing a lot more to it, but do you know, are they going to put any benches in there? There used to be benches along that little trail that went through that you could sit down on and stuff, which now there are not any, and I didn't know if that's part of the new design for,
I sure hope so.
That'd be a Howie question.
another Howie question, huh?
Yeah.
We don't know.
And were they going to pave that little trail was another one.
That's
Yeah.
planned, yeah.
That's planned, okay.
Planned, yes.
Because it's okay for people who can walk down there, but, you know, if you had to use a walker or a wheelchair or
It's also
something.
skinny.
Yeah, it's
They're
not
gonna
very
go-
big, and I just wondered when they were redoing it if they were going to do that too. Because I think those benches are nice, especially if they could put some down close to where the playground is, where parents could sit and watch their kids play, and since they just have that one picnic table.
Go ahead, Karen.
That was my question. I was wondering if you were wanting benches down there.
If what?
If you were asking because you wanted some benches down there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I guess I don't really need them, but it was nice every now and then when I was
Something
walking
you
down there.
enjoyed as a
I
citizen.
just sit down there. It's kind of nice just to sit there and look around. Okay. I think that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Chief, for all you do in the fire department, for sure.
Yes, ma'am. You're welcome.
With that, I guess we'll go to the ordinance and I guess the ordinance, we don't have any resolutions.
Okay, ordinance 2025-11, introduction on 3/3/25, public hearing and action tonight. An ordinance establishing a moratorium not to exceed 12 months on new vape shops within the city of New Carlisle.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Okay. Vice Mayor Eggleston,
Yes.
Mayor Cook,
Yes.
Councilwoman Grove,
Yes.
Councilman Bond,
Yes.
Councilman Shammy,
Yes.
Councilwoman Wright,
Yes.
Councilman Lindsay.
Yes.
Okay, accepted 7-0. Ordinance 2025-12, introduction on 3/3/25, public hearing and action tonight. An ordinance establishing a moratorium on cannabis operations within the city of New Carlisle, Ohio.
So moved.
Second.
Anybody? Vice Mayor Eggleston,
Yes.
Mayor Cook,
No.
Councilwoman Grove,
Yes.
Councilman Bond,
Yes.
Councilman Shammy,
Yes.
Councilwoman Wright,
Yes.
Councilman Lindsay.
Yes.
Okay, accepted 6-1. Ordinance 2025-13, introduction tonight, public hearing and action on 4/7/25. An ordinance supplementing certain appropriations contained in New Carlisle City Ordinance 2024-66. In other business, an additional city business intergovernmental meeting will be 3:31 here at Heritage Hall at 6 p.m. The sheriff and council meet and greet is scheduled for 4/26/25 from 11 to 2 at Bow and Arrow. And now open for any other discussion on city-related business.
Go ahead, Bill.
We talked, I don't know if it was the last meeting or 2 meetings ago, we had some conversation about adding, we put $25,000 a year away for new city offices, and there was conversation to bumping that to $75,000 a year. Does everybody or anybody not remember
I
that
remember.
conversation?
I remember the conversation, however,
Well,
you,
just a minute.
okay, go ahead.
And in that same conversation, we had talked about putting more money away for roads, and I believe that figure was $100,000 a year. I did speak with our finance director, and she assured me that would not be a problem to do that. So if council would like to do that, I just put that into a motion, ma'am.
So what is your exact motion?
You didn't write that down?
Well, to increase, I mean, are you just saying to increase from 50 or from 25,000 to 75,000 for the new city building?
City building, an additional 100,000 to roads. So hopefully we can maybe do an extra road. You know, we'll have more money for I forget-
Downtown.
well, I forget what they call it, for the grants, we have to pay so much. For match, I guess it's called, or something. So that will give us, and last year, when we did the budgets, just to remind everybody, if you forgot, we also put $100,000 in the budget last year, and this is an addition to that. So we will have an extra 100 grand besides what we budgeted last year for roads. And and as long as it's in there sometime this year, I don't have a problem with that, and I'll make that part of the motion too, ma'am. So the motion is to raise it to $75,000 for city, an additional $100,000 for roads, as long as the money is made available, I'm going to say within the next 5 months. That way, it'll be, well, whenever Howie does roads, I don't know, could be 3 or 4 months from now.
Okay, so your motion is to increase from 25,000 to 75,000 for the development of a new city building, add $100,000 to the road improvements, and that money is to be made available within the next 5 months.
That'll work.
Second.
Kathy?
Well, before we, vote.
Wait a minute, I got a second, now we're in
We-
discussion.
Now we're in discussion?
discussion
Okay,
now.
so I'm ready. I was ready before. If we do the 100 now, it sounds like we might work, so that would be 200, that we could work on streets now. I would sort of like to earmark that extra 100 for our downtown roads, those 5 that have been so terribly tore up. Those people, I feel so bad for the people who live, downtown. Their roads are horrid. I mean, he lives there, half the roads are blocked. It's just a mess. And after 3 years of that, if anybody deserves a road, it's going to be those guys. I mean,
I think this pretty much is the plan that, in speaking with Howie, that yes, once the gas company's done, then we're talking about going back and doing a
Doing the whole
massive
width,
program
right.
at
And
that point.
I understand
And I would
that.
be under the assumption that we're talking about the older section of town, those that are all tore up. Again, it's leaving him with his discretion, because right now we've got Henry and Orth.
Oh, definitely.
That
Those
does
are
not
horrible,
mean
too.
that at some point in time, there may be another couple of streets that may go
Mm-hmm.
before we get all this money and all of these,
Right.
I guess, improvements done.
I guess my point was that we don't need the money deposited in 5 months, because we're not really going to need that extra money until later, is my thought.
Well, that's out of the realm of the motion.
Is it? Okay.
But if it's okay, sir, I'll
Go
answer
ahead.
the question for her. The idea of adding the extra $100,000 for this year is in case, and since manager is not here, / road superintendent, or road director, he does not know we are doing this, he might be able to catch another road somewhere. As far as the roads that are tore up right now, those will be patched.
Right.
And then after the gas company, I think it is, coming through next year, destroys the same roads again, when that's done, then we're going to do curb to curb, is my understanding from the service director / city manager / Ms. Harris.
And some of the discussion that he said too, if we're going to go ahead and approve this motion and put that money aside, it's like sitting in its checkbook. So it's
Yeah.
going to be from the general fund over to the street fund. The street fund will hold that money. Sometimes it takes Mr. Kitco time to work with Clark County to get the grants to do the streets. So it's not going to be money that would be spent for anything other than when he's ready or gets the additional money or decides, where that's going to be.
I guess maybe I was more concerned about rushing you and which pockets we're taking that out of, and do you have an idea where that money is coming from?
So it has to come out of the general fund.
It
We only
does,
get
just
so
point
much
out.
from our street levy.
Okay.
And that's why it's not very much. He can't do a lot with it if he
Right.
doesn't get the grants. We did move the 100,000 from our budget approval already into the streets, and this will be another 100,000.
Okay.
The general fund was looking at ending of just a little over 2 million. That was kind of we didn't want to go under.
Right.
But traditionally, we budget, myself, a little higher on the expenditures than what we usually spend and a little less on revenue.
Okay, so it's
I usually-
expected money we're kind of
Yeah.
basing this on. Okay.
So I think
Gotcha.
that I'm comfortable not having a time limit, but like I believe it takes a while to get that money in too. So
Right, yeah.
whether we expect to get 2 million in the general fund, it takes the 12 months to gather it up. and
Right.
Get it. We have fronted the lead program, and that was passed by council at the end of the year, the $500,000, 500,000 to have, so I have money to pay the vendors until we get reimbursed. So that money will be coming back into the general fund too, to get
Oh,
that
okay.
balance up a little bit.
That's good news.
So.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, I call for the
Go
vote.
ahead.
I call for the vote.
Okay, wait a minute.
I have a question. I've been waiting really patient. Really patient. The city building that you referred to, would that include a new fire department building? Is that all for it together?
Whatever,
Or city building?
whatever.
Can that be
the-
categorized as?
Whatever the council at the time that discussion happens decides on what to build, it would all go for, if it's a combination, city building, fire, police, it's all one building, it would all go into that fund.
Well, my question is, so is that considered a city building?
It is considered a
Okay,
city.
thank you. I want to make sure that our terminology is correct. I don't want to hurt ourselves.
Now, Mr. Mayor, I call for the vote.
Somebody ask another question.
Councilwoman Wright.
He can wait.
Councilwoman Wright.
Yes.
Councilman Lindsay.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Eggleston.
Yes.
Mayor Cook.
Yes.
Councilwoman Grove.
Yes.
Councilman Bond.
Yes.
And Councilman Shammy.
No,
It's 7-0.
That's fun.
All right, has anybody got anything else? Oh, go ahead, Janelle.
Do you need my name again?
No.
We already know.
I was noticing when I was driving down the street the other day that where the urgent care building is, and then there's that building beside it, there's these big signs, and the one says medical marijuana, like you can get it from the urgent care. And the other sign on the other building said recreational marijuana, like you can get it there. And I just wondered if you guys knew about that, and do they think they can do that, or I don't know why I never noticed it before, but,
I don't know of any licenses. We looked at it before we did that moratorium legislation. I didn't see any active licenses. I know like the medical card you can get with a prescription from places, but that doesn't mean you can buy it.
oh, okay, so maybe they could get a prescription.
Yeah.
But why would that one say recreational marijuana?
Good question.
I don't know.
I mean,
That might be worth an investigation.
Well,
Maybe it's just an advertisement.
well, that's what I wondered afterward too, maybe it
as far
was.
as I know,
I
there are
didn't
no
know.
plans before the planning commission. Because I asked Mr. Fields the other night
There's none.
if he had a meeting tomorrow night. He said, no, his next meeting was not till April, and he had not seen a packet yet. So I would say that somebody has put something up. Now, we do have a doctor in town that you can get a medical marijuana card.
That's probably what that meant then, because that was closest to his building. But then the other one was that building right beside it, and I don't know if that goes with that office or not, but they had a big sign that said recreational marijuana. And I thought, well, do they know that they put a moratorium on it, or were they already doing that, or what? I didn't know, so I was just curious.
You're one ahead of the rest of us.
Okay.
Yeah, really.
Yeah,
Now we're all
I
gonna
think we
drive
should-
past there.
yeah, now you go by and see if you can get some.
I do have one more thing when we're done.
Not loud.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you. We need to check that.
Go ahead, Kathy.
It was just an update on the Easter. I finished my purchasing, and it is $433 roughly. I'll get the receipts to, forgot her name already, soon, Ms. Harris, soon. And I wanted to let everybody know the library is working so well with us, and I really hope we can continue this conversation for a while. They have also purchased many items and are donating items, and I'm very excited for it, and I'm hoping it comes together really well. And if it doesn't, that'll be my fault, and we'll do better the next year. So that's what I wanted to say.
And a question. Did we put anything in the budget for this?
For the Easter?
Yeah.
So there is a little, it's a shared account with, let me pull it up so I can see it when I say it, with the employees, Christmas. Yeah. So we had it in the budget. There is money in it.
Little,
I
that's
just-
what I was told, yeah.
Yeah. It's sooner than later, get it to me, because they're supposed to be approved before we spend.
Okay, well, they had already approved 400-ish around there, and then Howie told me to go up a little bit more since the library is working with us, and we're going all ages of kids clear up to 18, so,
Yeah, there's plenty for that.
all right.
Well, you're
And,
knocking out the 71-year-olds?
yeah, well, we're going to do a special little field for 70-year-olds.
Yeah.
They'll have fun. Just for you.
Babysat.
Anybody got anything else?
No.
Go ahead, Bill.
Are we doing an executive session tonight?
Are we doing what?
An executive session tonight? It's on the agenda.
I am,
And I didn't know anything.
I don't believe so.
Okay, well,
I think, that reminds me. We have a executive
tomorrow.
tomorrow night. Okay, along with administration.
Yeah, Howie was going to set that up with the candidates and with administration.
6:30, right? 6:30.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock?
6 is the first one.
What I got on my calendar.
No, we said 6:30.
6:30?
You guys just talked about 6:30
6?
after the fact, but I had already published it in the legal ad for 6. That's what you originally said.
Yeah,
I thought it
20
was
minutes
6.
to get ready.
Yeah, it's
5
6.
minutes to
That's
get
right.
ready.
We are at 6
You are
tomorrow
at
night.
6 tomorrow, yes.
All right. So we're having 6 and 7.
yeah.
That's where it's storage tomorrow.
If nothing else, Mr. Mayor, hearing no other business, move to adjourn.
Second.
Councilwoman Wright,
Yes.
Councilman Lindsay,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Eggleston. Yes. Mayor Cook,
Yes.
Councilwoman Grove,
Yes.
Councilman Vaughn,
Did we spend enough time?
I know, it's awful short.
It's got 2 hours.
Yes.
Councilman Shammy.
If you're looking for a raise,